The day the neighborhood tyrant fell. Have you ever stood in your backyard, surrounded by the laughter of loved ones, only to feel a chill as someone tries to steal that joy? Picture a perfect summer afternoon, the scent of blooming flowers in the air, and the sound of children playing then. In an instant, it's shattered by the wail of sirens and the cold stare of someone who believes they own your happiness. My name is James Carter, and this is the story of how one woman's vendetta against my family turned our quiet suburban life into a battlefield and how we fought back, not with anger, but with strategy and justice. I'm a planner by nature. At 52, I've built a career as a senior housing compliance officer, ensuring fairness in a world that often bends the rules for the powerful. My wife, Sarah, calls me the man who'd organize a hurricane, complete with color-coded evacuation routes. When it came to our daughter Emily's 8th birthday, I left nothing to chance. We lived in Willow Creek, a tidy subdivision in Cary, North Carolina, place of manicured lawns and colonial homes. Our two-story house, bought 4 years ago, had a sprawling, fenced backyard perfect for a child's party. I dubbed the event Rainbow Dreamscape, a celebration with a bouncy castle shaped like a fairy tale tower, a face painter who could transform kids into dragons in minutes, and a pony named Buttercup for rides. The crown jewel? A 3-tiered cake, a masterpiece of lemon sponge and raspberry filling, topped with a handcrafted sugar dragon shimmering with edible silver. It cost a small fortune, but Emily's gasp when she saw it made it worth every cent. The day was flawless warm sun, a soft breeze, and 15 of Emily's friends tearing through the yard, their faces painted with stars and tigers. I was at the grill, flipping burgers, feeling a rare, deep peace. Sarah was chatting with other parents, her laughter mingling with the kids' squeals. This was the life we'd worked for. Then I saw her, Margaret Hensley, our neighbor and the iron-fisted president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. She stood at the edge of our property, where my neatly trimmed grass met her obsessively sculpted azaleas. Her arms crossed so tightly, it looked like she was strangling her torso. Margaret, in her late 60s, had hair shellacked into a blonde fortress and a wardrobe of pastel blazers. Today's was a blinding shade of coral. Her stare could have melted steel. I waved, hoping to defuse her with friendliness. She didn't wave back. Instead, she pulled out her phone and started recording. "Here we go," I muttered. Margaret had been a thorn since we moved in the only black family on Maple Lane. Our mailbox was too modern for her 1980s bylaws. Our jazz playlist on Sunday mornings was disruptive. My prize roses were, apparently, an unapproved shade of crimson. Each complaint came with a smile so sharp it could cut glass. I'd always responded politely, documenting every interaction but refusing to take her bait. This, though, felt different, hostile in a way I hadn't seen before. I approached, keeping my tone light. "Margaret, everything okay?" Her eyes, cold and small, scanned the party like a hawk. "James," she said, her voice dripping venom. "This is a violation." I blinked. A violation of what? My daughter's birthday? She pointed at the bouncy castle. Article 8, Section 5 of the Willow Creek Covenants. Large gatherings with rented equipment require board approval. This is a commercial event. I almost laughed. "Margaret, it's a kid's party. We're not running a carnival." She jabbed a finger toward the giggling children. "The noise exceeds the 55 decibel limit after noon. It's unacceptable." Emily ran up, asking for a juice box, but froze when she saw Margaret. Her smile faded, and she hid behind me. That was the spark, seeing my daughter's joy dimmed by this woman's pettiness. My voice hardened. "Margaret, this is my property, and you're not welcome here. Please leave." Her face twisted into a mask of fury. "I'm the president of this association," she spat. "I must maintain standards. You people think you're above the rules." There it was, you people, a slap of prejudice laid bare. The other parents fell silent, watching. Sarah started toward us, her expression stormy. Then Margaret escalated to a level I couldn't have predicted. "I'm calling the authorities," she declared, dialing 911. She told the dispatcher a man was holding an illegal, disruptive event and was threatening her. Her pause on man, painting a deliberate picture. But what came next was pure malice. As she hung up, she stormed onto my patio, marched to the dragon cake, and stomped on it. Her sensible loafer crushed the second tier, then the first. The dragon toppled, its silver scales shattering. She swiped at the table, sending juice pitchers and party bags crashing. Emily sobbed, burying her face in Sarah's side. The kids screamed. Margaret stood amid the wreckage, breathing heavily, a triumphant sneer on her face as sirens wailed in the distance. I wasn't angry anymore. A cold clarity settled over me, the kind I feel when I'm about to win a case. Margaret had just handed me a war, and I was ready to fight it on my terms. The police arrived, 2 officers, one a grizzled veteran named Sergeant Dawson, the other a young rookie, Officer Hayes. Margaret met them at my driveway, launching into a performance worthy of an Oscar. "Thank goodness you're here," she cried, pointing at me. "This man is holding an illegal rave, disturbing the peace, and he threatened me." I stood silent, letting her spin her tale. Dawson surveyed the scene. The deflated bouncy castle, the spilled juice, the terrified kids, and the ruined cake with a distinct shoe print. His eyes lingered on Margaret's lower first, a perfect match. "Sir," Dawson said to me, "your side?" I kept my voice steady. "I'm James Carter. This is my home. We were celebrating my daughter's 8th birthday. Miss Hensley complained, and when I asked her to leave, she called 911 and destroyed our cake." A parent, Mike, stepped forward, his voice shaking with anger. "She's lying. We all saw her stomp on it deliberately. She scared the kids." Dawson's expression didn't change, but a weariness crept in. "Ma'am," he said to Margaret, "did you do this?" She scoffed. "It was an accident. I tripped because he was menacing me." Dawson wasn't buying it. He asked if I wanted to press charges for trespassing and property damage. Part of me wanted to see her cuffed right there, but I knew a misdemeanor was too small. I wanted her empire, not just a fine. "Not now," I said. "I just want to salvage my daughter's day." But my security cameras caught everything. Margaret's smugness faltered. Dawson nodded, understanding I was playing a longer game. He turned to her, his voice firm. "Go home, Miss Hensley. Don't speak to Mr. Carter or step on his property again. If we get another call, you won't like it." Defeated, she slunk back to her house, slamming the door. The yard was quiet, heavy with shock. Sarah hugged me, her voice soft. "You handled that better than I could have." I admitted. I wanted to tear her world apart, but that's her game. Messy fights. We're playing mine now. Inside, Emily watched us, tears staining her cheeks. Margaret had made my daughter cry. For that, she'd lose everything. This wasn't Margaret's first strike. For 4 years, she'd waged a campaign of petty harassment. It started with a welcome binder of HOA rules thicker than a dictionary, detailing everything from grass species to approved paint shades. Notices followed. Our garden hose wasn't coiled aesthetically. Our trash bin's wheels faced the wrong way. Meanwhile, our white neighbor's basketball hoops and lawn statues went untouched. I kept a file, every notice, every photo of ignored violations, every snide comment. When she complained about our loud, Motown playlist barely audible from the street, I turned it up a notch out of principle. The birthday incident was her fatal mistake. She'd crossed into harassment and destruction, giving me the ammunition I needed. I called a security expert, Victor, who upgraded my cameras to high-definition, motion-activated systems with crystal-clear audio. I compiled a timeline of her actions, backed by photos, emails, and affidavits from party guests. Then I contacted Laura Bennett, a fierce housing law attorney I'd faced in court years ago. "James," she said, laughing, "you're a federal housing official being racially harassed by an HOA president. This is a litigation jackpot." Laura drafted a 14-page demand letter, sent to Margaret and every HOA board member. It accused the HOA of violating the Fair Housing Act through targeted harassment and discrimination. We demanded Margaret's resignation, a public apology, the repeal of her petty bylaws, anti-discrimination training, and a $75,000 donation to a local youth charity. If unmet, we'd sue the HOA and each board member personally, with their insurance unlikely to cover willful misconduct. We also hinted at revisiting criminal charges. The fallout was swift. Board members panicked, realizing they'd been complicit in Margaret's crusade. At an emergency meeting, they turned on her. The treasurer, Paul, exploded, waving our letter. "You lied to us, Margaret. Your shoe's in the cake." They voted 4-1 to accept our terms. Margaret resigned, sobbing not from remorse but rage. At the public HOA meeting, the room buzzed with tension. Sarah and I sat in the back, silent. Paul announced Margaret's resignation and the HOA's concessions. Margaret stood, ranting about being bullied by outsiders. Then, in a moment of divine timing, Sergeant Dawson walked in with an arrest warrant for trespassing and property damage. "You said he wasn't pressing charges," she shrieked. "He had 2 years to change his mind," Dawson replied, cuffing her. The click of the handcuffs echoed. As she was let out, neighbors clapped a quiet, relieved applause. 2 weeks later, we threw Rainbow Dreamscape 2. The bouncy castle returned, Buttercup trotted in, and a new dragon cake gleamed. Neighbors stayed, sharing food and stories. Paul apologized, and we learned Margaret had taken a plea, probation, a fine, anger management, and a restraining order. Her house was for sale. Emily laughed, her face painted like a comet, her joy restored. That night, Sarah and I sat on the patio, fireflies flickering. "You never lost your cool," she said. I smiled. "My dad taught me. Don't wrestle a pig, you get dirty, and the pig enjoys it." Margaret wanted chaos. I gave her justice. We'd faced hate for existing, but we won by refusing to surrender our dignity. What do you think? Have you faced a bully like Margaret, or seen injustice in your community? Share your thoughts below. Should we fight with fists, words, or the law? Let's hear your stand.